So you're at the grocery store. Options at the sushi counter were a little thin. Spicy tuna rolls will have to do. But you know what else is a little thin? Your patience. You were listening to your favorite podcasts, but now all you're listening to is this little robot lady yap at you.
Place your item in the bagging area.
If only you had the AAA podcast's extra content, you wouldn't have even heard her talking to you over the sound of our hobby addicts, our hentai episodes, and our after parties. But now you're about to get arrested for assaulting Wally over here. Goddamn robot bitch. Little Billy's sitting at home about to go hungry while Mommy and Daddy are becoming somebody's new favorite down at the Slammer. Don't let little Billy go hungry. Head over to aapodcast.com/join our Patreon today and support the podcast. Again, that's aapodcast.com/join or Patreon.
Place your item in the bagging area.
Yeah, I'll put you in a bag.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome to a little podcast we call the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. It is our 615th episode, and here I am joined by Mason. Hello, Mason.
Hello, Caroline. Ooh, 615 is such a nice number, don't you think?
Round number, yes, very much indeed.
It just has a nice look to it. But yes, the words are hard, and that's why I'm going to be quiet now so you can introduce the other host.
Okay, other host is called Mitsugi. Hello, Mitsugi. What a hat you have on.
I'm wearing a hat. I'm a bald person. My head gets cold easily. And I don't know what to tell you. It's a big hat. It's actually a toboggan. And I'm drinking a gold Monster. Ooh. And there's a new flavor of Monster out. It's a peach flavor. It tastes like peach rings. I couldn't find it today. I had it the other day, but it's only available in some places. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready to be on a jam-packed, awesome podcast today, and so happy to have so many people listening. I love you all. Back to you,
Caroline.
It's been a while since we had the monster crack.
Yeah, how long? What would this gold Monster taste like? How would you describe this?
It tastes like pineapple. Yep.
Well, it also looks like urine in a cup.
Well, maybe it is urine. Would you
put it?
Urine,
my favorite.
Would you put it past me?
I mean, you do drink vampire's blood. Not vampire's blood. You do drink blood out of a jug like a vampire.
Kinky.
Moe
Nope.
blood.
You just have a massive jug and it turns water red. Okay, back to the topic of discussion for today. Well, of course, you can find us on Twitch, where we are now broadcasting live every Sunday, 5 p.m. EST. And you can check out the show. You can watch everything as it happens and discuss with the Twitch chat, as they often do. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Discord, where a lot of our discussions take place amongst, Anime Club, and there's also a little trivia group going on, and it's all fun, and we would love you to join us there. So, I believe we have an update on our listener's choice poll.
We do. We have our listener choice poll, because, we do that every season for you. We let you pick the last few anime that we will be reviewing. So thank you so much for going on our poll and making this possible. I will say that we allowed you to pick 4 of them this time, simply because, well, the winter season was a little not to our taste. I don't know how to put it, but we just couldn't find enough that we wanted to pass ourselves. So we let you have a little more say this time than usual. So the fourth place in the poll. Unfortunately, Caroline is learning the hard way that you don't overly complain about anime shows, because you will ultimately be trolled by the Discord.
Don't put this on me. This is not my fault.
Well, I actually didn't mind Realist Hero that much. So Realist Hero Season 2 is the 4th place, so we will be reviewing that. So there you go. in spite of my efforts to jettison this anime, we will also be watching In the Land of Leaddale, which got 3rd place. So that was one of mine, and I failed it, but it's back. It wasn't really all that horrible to begin with. It was just kind of mediocre, I thought. An anime that I know nothing about, Arifureta, from Common Job class to the
goodness.
strongest in the world,
Yeah.
2nd season.
I can't believe you guys. 3
never saw the first
isekai of
season.
all middling quality. You must love us so much.
I never saw the first Arifureta.
Nobody did, and nobody should.
And 1st place with an overwhelming result. I didn't put the percentages in here. I forgot to. But Akebi's sailor uniform will
There was
be
no doubt. I knew this
As
from the start.
expected.
will be getting his 1st place. So, Realist Hero Season 2, In the Land of Leaddale, Arifureta Season 2, and Akebi's sailor uniform are the 4 listener choice anime that will be joining the rest of the list. And we'll be covering those for the winter season as we continue throughout the year. So, thanks to everybody who voted, and back to you, Caroline.
Oh, right. Oh, back to me. So today we are going to have the main topic of what have we been watching, because somehow we have time to watch shows other than the stuff we review for this show. And it's been a while since this was a topic, but now we've returned to it, and we will discuss that in a little bit. And also we will have the review of Jobless Reincarnation, the second core, the second part of that show. So I hope you are getting excited for that. Not too excited, because we already have enough pervs in that show. Sorry. Okay, there's so much to talk about there.
This anime is even warping Caroline's mind. That's how,
Honestly,
that's how
there's
deep
a
we've
lot.
gotten.
A lot to discuss there. But
Koneko chodai nyan.
No.
Faku shite kure.
No.
Save it for the review. Let's try to
sorry,
keep it
sorry.
contained
No.
in its little corner.
I know, it's so hard for me though. I have no self-control. So
Yes, as I said it earlier, let's make this episode more PG than the show we are reviewing. Anywho, let's get to the big news of the week, shall we?
let's do just that.
大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Well, I have nothing today, but Pancake did buy me a Dragon Ball Z toy that I have here. I have not opened it yet. I figure we do this for 2 minutes. It is the Dragon Ball Z figure bag clip from Target. It contains 1 Dragon Ball Z character. One is Frieza. We have Frieza in his first form. We have Zarbon. Sees Frieza in the second form. Krillin, Vegeta, Dende, which I find very random. A very ugly looking figure of Bulma. A very ugly looking figure of Goku Super Saiyan 1 and Gohan child form. So I find it very random that Zarbon and Dende are in here. But would you guys like to take guesses about which of these characters will be the one that's located inside this packaging? I'm about to open it right now.
Was Krillin in there? Was that one of the options?
Krillin is on the list.
Ugly
Okay,
Bulma.
so just feeling it. Do you feel the presence of hair?
I think it's in like a paper thing inside, so I can't really
Okay.
feel.
I'm gonna guess Krillin then. I
Okay.
don't know why. I'm just getting big Krillin vibes.
Krillin vibes. Caroline?
Ugly Bulma.
If I can get this packaging open, god damn.
It's ASMR. Make it into an ASMR moment.
I had to use my teeth to get it open. It is the worst possible figure in the container. It is
no.
a very hideous looking Zarbon figure.
Aw, man. I thought it was going to be
Very
Bulma.
unlucky gotcha pool for Mitsugi. So that's about all I had. You know what? There was also 2 mystery ones that were on the back here, but they have the outline of the character. One of them is just round, so you know that's a Dragon Ball. Duh. And the
Yeah.
other one looks exactly like King Kai, complete with antennas. So
Mysterious.
He's also quite round himself.
big thank you to Pancake for being thoughtful enough to
Get the
me
worst pack.
get me a toy.
The frick.
So, all right, and that's about all I had.
Nice.
Well-
Well, that was fun.
Okay. So, in actual news, I don't know if you heard, but Crunchyroll now has an app for Nintendo Switch. So on Thursday, the new Crunchyroll application launched worldwide on Nintendo Switch, which will give you the ability to also watch while offline. You do have to have a specific subscription price to match it, though, so just keep that in mind. But Crunchyroll will become the first streaming application to offer offline viewing on Nintendo Switch, and one of a limited number of SVOD, or subscription video on demand apps, on the gaming console. So now you get to enjoy that along with Funimation on your Switch.
Wow. Well,
Cool. More places to watch anime.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
And I did download it just to see how it looked, because sometimes they say like, "Oh, new thing on this device," and it ended up, being very sucky. But from what I could tell, from the short minutes that I've had on it, it operates pretty well. No comment section. I think that's the only difference between that and watching it online.
Oh, it's even better than the
That's true.
experience.
not to excessively hate on Nintendo, but like every other system has had this for like a billion years. So the fact that they're
Yes, we know.
just now getting Nintendo's, the fact that they just now have Crunchyroll is kind of embarrassing. I mean,
But Nintendo is also very much their own thing.
I mean,
and they can play by their own
If
rules.
there's no Mario on it, it's hard for them to consider.
Mario anime. Would you watch a Mario anime, Mitz?
I would. I like Mario. I often pick him in Mario Party.
So,
Well, yeah, but is there a story to really get an anime going?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I feel like most anime don't have the story to get an anime going.
True.
Okay, here's an idea for a Mario anime. It's basically Mario, but in Super Mario Maker, and he has to get through all the bonkers maps that people just make for him, and he's like constantly trying to figure out what the heck is going in the minds of the developers.
Yeah, Isekai Mario. He gets isekai'd into a video game, the Mario video game origin story.
Was he an actual plumber?
Yeah, he was an actual plumber, and he got isekai'd into the world of the Koopa Kingdom. I don't know.
You know what's hilarious? I was playing Mario Party with Pancake like a couple months ago, and she just now realized that the Goombas are mushrooms. How funny is that? I've known that since I was 5 years old. So we'll have to make fun of her later on.
There we go. Well, not too hard though, because she did give
Not
you
too hard, because she
the
did
worst
get me the
chain.
figure.
The worst one,
I'm
though. So a
surprised
little
she
bit.
I'm surprised she didn't come up here and talk some shit, because she's definitely downstairs. But no, she said, "Fuck you." Got it.
Oh,
Oh,
I
we
heard
heard.
that.
Yeah. So
Enhance the audio, listener. Enhance the audio.
enhance.
Just get Mitch just like blows out into a super grainy like.
We're gonna start from like 10,000 feet and gradually zoom in to like ground level, and it's just Pancake giving you the finger.
The middle finger, yeah.
Yeah.
That's her quest. She just follows
Yeah.
the Google streetcar around and
Yep.
makes sure to always be on the side of the road, flicking it off.
Are there people that do that? Is that a thing?
No.
I really hope not. Good Lord, people need to go get like a life if that's a thing that people do. All right. Well, thank you, Caroline.
Speaking of needing to get a life,
Oh,
my news
yikes.
story is a Love Live fan admits to stealing school equipment.
my God.
A 28-year-old Love Live fan was arrested on suspicion of breaking into schools in the Shizuoka City, which is where the anime takes place, and stole school equipment. And he admitted to the charges in his appearance in a
Jesus.
district court recently. The suspect told prosecutors that he, quote, wanted to experience the world of Love Live, end quote. And so he broke into at least 2 schools, possibly more, and stole items including a basketball jersey, stacks of school workbooks, a dark blue uniform,
Fuck.
a plastic bag full of tennis balls, an amplifier with 2 speakers, 3 trophies, a school desk, and more.
A desk?
A desk.
What is he
school
doing?
desk.
Like piecemeal building his own high school, like in his backyard,
Yeah, probably.
with
He's got
enough
tennis
seating
balls
for
and
one
desk. What
person?
more do you need?
Good Lord,
This is
man.
not the first time that the city has dealt with issues from fans flocking to the area. In 2018, some manhole covers were adorned with Love Live characters, and many of them were vandalized. So, Love Live is the most dangerous addiction in the world. Obviously. It was kind of funny that he stole kind of like a mix of like the most harmless things and a bunch of weird stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I like if you want to experience the world of Love Live, just enjoy your own high school life when you had it and live on the nostalgia. I don't know, my dude. You missed
Jeez.
your shot. Sucks to suck. Watch Love Live and be happy about it. And
Yeah.
don't steal stuff.
Yeah. Some people just like, I don't know, man. It's like you have to have a complete just lack of awareness of reality to be a person that breaks into a school to steal. Can you imagine being a person that's going to break into a high school to steal a school desk because you love like idol girls that much?
It also makes no
This
sense.
person's
You can
never
get
getting
most
laid.
of these things online very easily. Like, just buy them.
Just buy a yeah, exactly.
Buy a plastic bag of tennis balls. just go to Dick's Sporting Goods and get yourself them tennis balls.
Dixu Spotting Goods.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely buying a desk online is certainly much cheaper than hiring a lawyer to get you out of fucking prison. So that's awesome.
I don't know. I expect him to like be put away with real hard time, and he gets shown to like his jail cell. Everyone's giving him dirty looks, but he opens the door and it like creaks open, and there's a desk in his room. He's like, "Oh, that's what I've always wanted."
So, Clockwork V from Twitch asked, "How did this guy sneak out an entire desk?" As a person who has taught in more than a few public schools in Japan, these schools have absolutely no security at all. The buildings are usually like they're pushing 50 years old probably. They have no insulation. There's no technology really in these buildings. They're about as farmhouse-like as you can imagine. Like imagine breaking into like the Little House on the Prairie house. Like you'd pretty much need like a screwdriver to get the door open, and then you're just home free. So this guy probably could have stolen a hell of a lot more than a desk, and there is no one there at night. So
I believe he got a lot of this stuff from the school's gyms, which are usually even like a side compartment of the school. So
Yeah.
he wasn't having to go through like double doors. He could just blow the gates wide open.
yeah, it would not be hard to do anything you wanted at these schools at night. So I'm just thankful he didn't do anything to the students. That's more of my take.
Yeah, but still
yeah,
not a great look.
Pretty
But there
weird,
you go. Be better, humans.
Oh yeah, be better. Definitely. Yeah.
That's all I had.
All right.
So, shall we get to our main topic for today?
I love a main topic.
Oh, yes, because we do that every episode.
We do.
Love main topics so much. So today we are talking about what we have been watching. Mitsugi, what have you been watching?
Well, I just the other night I was watching Vampire Princess Miyu. So I start with Vampire Princess Miyu, which is not a very good anime in my estimation. It's pretty old from 1990. Boy, it seems a lot older than this, but Vampire Princess Miyu apparently is only from 1997, which makes it much newer than I thought it was based on how it looks. And it's about like these Shinma, which are demons more or less, and they also include other monsters like vampires, and they exist on the earth and for no real reason other than just like to feed off of humanity. And there is a princess named Miyu who is in fact a princess, and she is also a Shinma. She's a vampire, and her mission is to banish the Shinma from the earth, and she has the power to do this pretty much. And so in this anime, which is only this is the wrong, I'm definitely looking at the wrong thing here. I got the date wrong. So there's a Vampire Princess Miyu. There we go. 10 years before the one I just mentioned, there's another one that is what I actually watched from 1988. It's 4-episode OVA, but it's got the same story. Miyu, who hunts down these Shinma. There's not much backstory behind Princess Miyu. She just kind of exists, and she just looks like a girl in like a kimono basically. And in this anime, it centers around this kid named Kei. He's like this high school boy, and he's very like attractive, I guess. He's just like a very beautiful person, and they refer to him as such an awful lot of times. And in this anime, there's a Shinma who promises that she can give him eternal life, whose name is Ronka, and she basically like promises you eternal life and gets you to agree to it and makes you like all in, and and you're thinking, oh, she's gonna make me immortal or give me some magic powers. But what she ends up doing is she sucks your life out and turns you into a puppet, like a human, like a life-size puppet, which kind of reminds me of Resident Evil: The Village, which we talked about on Hobby Addicts. And so she kind of ensnares him, and he's in fact in love with her, and because she looks like a beautiful girl, and and he says, I don't even really care if I can become immortal. I just wanted to like be around this girl. So, and then Miyu gets involved, and it's just a short sort of 4-episode chronicle of one encounter with a Shinma that Miyu has, and and honestly, this, it's just not very good though. I mean, there are some anime from the late 80s that look good. They have decent animation. There's a lot of effort that's been put into the details. Like Bubblegum Crisis is one of those I think of. Like, it just looks good, feels good, has good music. Vampire Princess Miyu is kind of lacking the production budget. That studio from Studio AIC, is the studio that did it, and it's maybe not worth watching. I watched it on a Retro Crush, of course, but it's just not quite as good as some of the other shows. I pretty much picked it because it was short and it was from that time period that I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. But Vampire Princess Miyu is not really all that good of a show. Have either of you seen this?
I have never seen any version of this show. So
never seen nor heard.
Wow.
I've heard of it, but I was always like, I haven't heard great things, and thank you for confirming that I'm not missing much.
I stumped Mason. This is a big day.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a lot from this era that I haven't seen, but you're winning today. Let's see who has watched
for now.
more. Let's see who has watched the most weird stuff this week. Let's play that game.
It won't be me. All right, well, we can go round robin. So, Mason, what have you been watching?
Yeah, so first show I want to talk about today is a recent show that finished up last month. It's called Kyo in Kyoto from the Maiko House. This was not something that came up in our discussion of seasonal stuff because this was released not weekly but monthly. So it took a while for it to come out. It started in February of last year and it just finished in January of this year. So it's been brewing for a while, but it is an extremely comfy show that I would recommend to a very small subset of our audience because it is in CG. It is very, very, very slice of life. But I thought it was pretty interesting because I learned about stuff that I didn't even know I wanted to learn about, because it tells the story of two girls, Kyo and Sumire, who are from the Mori prefecture that travel all the way to Kyoto to learn to be Maiko. Do either of you know what Maiko are?
They're trained, they're apprentice geisha.
Yep. So they're kind of the people, working their way up to geishas, and it's usually younger girls trying to figure out the tricks of the trade and how the process and procedure works. So these two girls go to this house, they start trying to become Maiko, and very quickly we realize that Kyo is just not cut out for it. She does not have the elegance, the grace, the class, like, it's just not her thing. But we do learn that she is an excellent cook, and she kind of becomes the house cook for all the other Maikos that are training in there. And each episode usually results in about 3 or 4 vignette stories of either her preparing dinner or lunch or breakfast or some sort of food, as well as learning about Maiko's training and kind of their coming up in the business. And we learn about, their hairstyles, what the different comb positions mean, what the different bows and obis and how things are worn, and what represents that in the hierarchy of the Maiko and geisha relationship. It's so cool. And I knew none of this. I didn't know that geishas couldn't even have garlic. They just aren't allowed to eat it, period, flat out.
Really
so
strange.
She has to cook around that. But then
Sucks.
once a month they get to let their hair down and have garlic, so they have massive garlic parties.
Wow.
It's amazing. There's so many things that I was just I don't care about any of this, but I was just fascinated with learning these little tidbits. And it is mostly in CG, and it looks kind of cheap. I don't think many people will dig this show, but it has some of the comfiest, cutest scenes of the entire year. And there's a lot of little cute directing tricks Like a character will eat something, and sometimes you'll get like the onomatopoeia like sound bubbles, like the text will appear on screen as they'd be like "pwa" or something. But if it's like sour, they'll make the sound, but then the sound effects will like twist to like really sell you on the fact that it's like makes them pucker up or something. It's just a lot of little things that I appreciated. So Kyo and Kyoto, not a great show, moderately good, but it's very much for people who just want to relax, see some food, learn some recipes, and it's just a bunch of fun facts. And I love facts because I love learning things. And if that sounds like your kind of thing, I would recommend this show for you. You can watch it on Crunchyroll or VRV, and within like an episode or two, you'll very much quickly be like, oh, this is way too slow, or this is very comforting and I like it. So give that a shot.
I believe that and I could be wrong, but if I recall, the Maiko are the ones that you see wearing like white paint on their faces, and the geisha actually aren't required to do that.
Yeah, so
Could be wrong,
that's
but
part
I
of
think
it.
that's right.
Like Maiko actually has their own hair that's tied up, whereas geishas wear wig. So like there's
Weird.
a lot of things where like Maikos are almost like more like subject to like putting their own bodies on the line as like a test of their like, I don't know, devotion and stuff. It's kind of interesting. I'm certainly by no means an expert, but
Yeah.
back when I watched this a couple weeks ago, I was like, yeah, like if I went to Kyoto, I could be like, oh, I could tell the differences, like the way they part their hair, the way they do certain. It's kind of neat. It's kind of cool. So there
It
you
is
go.
cool. I mean, there are some cool like books you could read that are all about this, and the Memoirs of a Geisha movie. I'm not sure how historically accurate that is, but it definitely has some information in it that you could probably learn.
Mhm.
And there's a book about that as well, so that's
No,
pretty
I'm
cool.
talking like fun facts where like they will like stop the episodes and have these little talks about food, and someone will be like, "What's the difference between a hot cake and a pancake?" And someone will like, "Oh," and open up a book and be like, "This is what the lore is," or and they'll just
The
tell you what the
pancake
difference
lore?
is. Yeah, the pancake lore. I'm all in on pancake lore.
Really,
Yeah,
I did not know that about you.
it's really all I live for.
What would you say is your favorite pancake?
Banana walnut's pretty good. I don't know if it's my favorite. I don't have a ton of pancakes, but that's the one I make at home. So
All right.
there you go. Banana
Okay.
chocolate chip.
Ooh, chocolate chip is pretty strong.
And it is. It is.
All right.
I like my blueberry. Anywho,
Yeah.
off of pancake talk. So last time we did what we have been watching, I did
Last
mention that I was
time.
still watching Moribito because I was in the middle of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
finished it in the meantime. Yay.
What an adventure.
Yeah, I know. It
Mhm.
took me months. Like I started watching it probably last summer when we did it for Anime Club. We watched the
Wow.
first half, and then it took me many months to complete it.
That is a long time.
Not
It's
to
not
say
that
that
long.
it is not good. It's just that I just haven't I have a knack for kind of forgetting about things and not finishing them because I never feel like I have the time to. So
It's
it
really
just took a while.
It's really fine. The reality is that, this podcast just works you way too hard, and you just don't have time for other things. So
Yeah, there are several other shows I could be talking about today, but I just did not finish them. So I didn't want to talk way too much about them.
it's understandable.
So I did finish Moribito. It is very good. Balsa is best girl
Oh, yes.
in any competition.
Yes.
In fact, like she will probably, if we ever do that, like sexiest girls of anime for YouTube, she's going to be on there because she is. No, she's hot.
She'll get
And she's
bounced
She's a
super
early,
badass,
but-
but she'll get destroyed in seconds.
Yeah, you can put her on there, but she ain't going to win.
I mean, she's great, but just like compared to like the major, which is like in the same like tier of like characters, she would get smoked. So
Yeah.
telling you that now.
Respectfully disagree. Okay, never
But
mind.
Balsa's a baby.
Yeah, she's great. I just think there are several things I find funny about this show, and is that it takes the ignorance of people and it really shows you just like they really do make this accurate. So I won't like spoil anything, of course, but there is a part of the show where basically they are out to kill the boy character because he has a spirit. They believe he's dangerous, so they're out to kill him. His own people, his own, like he's like the prince or whatever, so like his own bodyguards are out to kill him. So basically that is like a large portion of at least the first part of the show is them out to kill him. And then they have the nerve to turn around and say like, actually, we know what's best for him. I'm like, you tried to kill him several times. What are you talking about? So yeah, they do that constantly, and I think they know like this is just how people are, is that they feel like they can just say ridiculous things like that. They also try to kill Balsa several times, despite the fact that she has become like she's such an ally. Why are you trying to kill her?
She's also a total badass. Good fucking luck.
Exactly. No way you're gonna kill her. Several things that just make me want to like facepalm, and not because the show is ignorant, it's because they're showing the ignorance of people. It is very good, and I highly recommend watching Moribito. It's like one of those, like, it is probably one of the best fantasies, like one of the best. So I highly recommend, even though by the end of it, they are still like, you know, putting out these keywords like in their the lore and these different language with these words come from, and and by the end of it I'm still like, what does that mean again? It's like they're saying like things like Narunga, like what's the Narunga again? Can you explain this to me like one more time? There's so many instances of this.
Come on, you don't know what a Narunga is?
I think out of most of them I can probably tell what the Narunga was, but like there are many other words I could not remember. That is just
your Narungas, you got your arugulas. It's too tough.
Arugula.
And I love how it feels like the climax of this show is basically like watching chickens with their heads cut off because they have no idea what they're doing. They're just trying to fix the situation,
like
and they have
Rudius.
no idea how. They're like hoping for the best. But yeah, it is very good. Highly recommend.
Yes, agreed.
All right. Yeah. Moribito is great. I haven't seen that in a long time though. So the next anime, I mentioned this before, but I haven't actually talked about it yet. But Pancake and I were in a hotel room for quite a while, and I just made like a joke. I was like, let's watch Initial D. I was like, you know what? You're probably going to hate this show. You don't give a fuck about cars. You don't care about racing. She doesn't even like riding in the car, okay? So like there's almost no chance she likes this anime. But I was all amped up because that MF Ghost is going to come out here, and, you know, and I was all excited for it. And so I put Initial D on, and she loved episode 1 so much that we ended up watching like close to 30 episodes that week in the hotel room. And it doesn't hold up very well visually. Initial D, you know, it came out in 1998. It looks worse than that. And, you know, it was done by...
as good as it needs to, though.
I mean, I guess so. The CG looks terrible. It's like beyond bad. But there is quite a jump between the first season and the second season. Like, they improve a lot of things in the second season. It's almost jarring how much better it gets. You kind of get used to the fact that Initial D looks terrible. And for people that don't know what Initial D is, it's a sports anime. You would probably define it as such. That is about drift racing. So Initial D is pretty famous, though. I think there's probably not too many anime fans that aren't aware of Initial D. I mean, between the manga and all the arcade machines,
and all the Eurobeats.
Yeah, all the crazy Eurobeat songs. And Initial D it holds up, like, as far as the content goes. It's really engrossing. It's unbelievably exciting. I mean, it's everything that Skate, the anime, wanted to be, but it just brutally fails. I mean, I feel like Skate really borrows a lot of ideas from Initial D. You know, where you've got these famous people throughout the region, and people talk about these like races that happen at night, and then they all gather secretly like in this place, and then people get all like egotistical and they race each other and they're overly serious. And Skate and Initial D are pretty similar, just that Initial D is like 1,000 times better than Skate. And it's just really exciting to watch these races happen, and they just execute them really well. And not all the outcomes are always obvious. Like, you always figure, like, most of the time when you're watching these sports shows, it's some of the fights or some of the matches or whatever you want to call them are kind of a foregone conclusion. But in Initial D, you know, the hero doesn't always win the races. It's pretty interesting like that. And I think one of the things that we enjoyed the most about the show is that the character models they are ugly, but they are varied enough that you can pretty much identify the characters almost by their silhouette. Like, you have like who's that Pokemon? Like you can always tell which Pokemon it is because they look different. But today in anime, a lot of the anime just have like the same faces and they swap hair out, they swap eye color. Initial D is from a time where they actually uniquely drew all the faces, their chins, their eyes, like everything. Everybody looks super different. They may not always be the most attractive looking characters, but they look unique, and that makes the show, like, to me, it makes it feel a little bit different and a little fresher, which is kind of ironic because you're going back in time like 25 years. But aside from that, like, you don't have to be a car lover to enjoy Initial D. Like, I would check it out. It's available on Funimation. It's fully dubbed. They have all 4 seasons and the movies, etc. on Funimation, so it's definitely worth checking out. We're going to continue watching it. We're mostly through the 2nd season now, and it's pretty neat. Even if you don't give a fuck about cars, I could see people enjoying it because I don't really care about cars particularly. But Initial D is just like one of the better sports anime out there. It's up there with like Major. It's up there with Hajime no Ippo. It's up there with, the what have yous. I don't know, whatever you prefer. But it's probably the best anime you'll see where cars are raced. I'll put it like that. So,
was Pancake trying to include a sports show in there?
Yeah, she's downstairs. She just shouted arcade games. I don't know
Okay.
what that means exactly, but she's all excited because she played the arcade game the other day at round 1. So.
No. Yeah, Initial D, like you said, is like Skate, but Skate took all its skill points and put it all in animation, and Initial D put it all in hype music, tofu, and just crazy adventures. Like,
Tofu?
I would say the first tofu, yeah. I'd say like the first 7 episodes of Initial D are like impossible to stop. Like, once you start watching it, like the first 2 arcs are just next episode.
Certain sports anime do a great job of building hype for the next thing. Like Hajime no Ippo, they did such a good job in that anime of making you want the next boxing match so badly that the hype is almost better than the fight. Initial D is a little like that. It doesn't do quite as good of a job as Hajime no Ippo, but they really do spend the episode or 2 or maybe even 3 episodes that are needed to really make you salivate for that next match. And then when it happens, you're just really into it. Like, you really want to see it happen. And so the anticipation is part of it. And this show does that really well. So I would check it out, people. Like, at this point, a lot of people probably haven't seen Initial D. It's definitely worth watching.
I think it's all on YouTube. I think you can just go to YouTube and watch it. And if you don't like cars, I don't like cars, but it's do it.
It's even better than having it on Funimation. You can go watch it for free. So.
Yeah.
That's about it. I don't know, pretty cool. So it's been around. Initial D has been around for a long time, and there's a reason for that. So anyway, moving on. Mason.
Yeah, I'll keep it current and new and fresh, and be talking about a 6-episode Netflix original show that came out. When did this come out? End of January 28th, and that is Orbital Children, which is
weird.
Done by Mitsuo Iso, which I know Mitz will know for doing Den-O Coil. So this is another one of his very forward-thinking, hey, this is not a show of the present. This is a show of the same way Den-O Coil was very much looking into the world of VR, like Google Glasses or whatever it was, and just like did so many things right. I'm very excited in like 30 years to see like how close the Orbital Children captured what we hopefully will have as space travel and like interstellar, I don't know, fame and fortune and all that nonsense, in the same way that Den-O Coil was so visionary. So watch Den-O Coil if you haven't. It's super unique, super really refreshing, good. And just one of a kind. And I was very excited for Orbital Children just because having the mind behind that once again on the project is just interesting. And the bad news is that the Orbital Children is not as good. It's definitely feels like there was a lot of ideas and concepts that had to get cut down for time. It's only 6 episodes, and there's just not much you can do with that. But it tells the story of essentially 2 groups of kids. One group that has won some contest or whatever to go to essentially like an international space station kind of thing and live stream it and be like, hey, we're Earth kids out to explore the galaxy. And they go to this big space station that's floating around Earth, and it's all high tech, and there's vending machines, and it's new and modern. And you have this girl who's like a moderately popular like Twitch streamer who has all her followers, and she like streams it all from like a handheld device that's like attached to her glove, and it's all pops up, and it's modern and it's cool, and it's a little far-fetched, but who knows what it'll be like in 30 years. And you have another group of kids who are born on the moon. We have colonized it, we have people up there, but because of like the atmosphere, or lack of it I should say, they've kind of developed some conditions that they're not having the best health. So mankind has been like, you know what, moon's kind of a bad idea. Let's kind of like get away from the moon. That's not really where we're meant to be. And these two groups of kids kind of come together and meet on the space station, and there's a whole lot more than just kids having fun. There's international hacking incidents, there's the destruction of all mankind through terrorist meteor. There's just a lot of stuff that it tries to tackle, and in 6 episodes, like, you can see where the threads are and where the ideas are going, but they just don't seem all that great and interesting in how they're set up. It seems very double crossing. No, it's actually a triple cross. No, we planned it all along. And you're just kind of rolling my eyes, and I'm just like, there's some ideas here that I like, and there is some cool animation cuts, but overall, I just didn't get that same vibe that I got from Den-O Coil. It tries to be a little too big brain, a little too much into the AI world, which is fine. And I hope in 30 years I'm all wrong about how, I don't know, ludicrous a lot of the technology seemed, but it's only 6 episodes, so it's an easy watch, and that's why I watched it. But watch Den-O Coil. That's really what I'm trying to say here. Just watch Den-O Coil.
You get some of that from Planet Test. There's a couple episodes where there's like a girl who's on the moon, and she was born on the moon, and she's like 7 feet tall because the gravity didn't like restrict her growth, and she's got all these health problems. But honestly, these kids on the moon or wherever they are, man, they can do whatever they want as long as they're not making kittens. You know, that's the real important
Stop
thing.
talking about kittens.
Lunar kittens
on.
is really the bane of us all.
Stop alluding to loot things. You're alluding.
Nyang.
Stop it. Don't bring her into this. Don't bring Yuri into this.
Yeah, so if you're super
Okay.
into space, I guess give this a shot. It's not a terrible show, but it didn't hit the right notes for me.
Wow, Caroline
All right.
Caroline watched some like big hitters on her list. She's got like some serious shit here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't say that. I basically have 3 things that I finished, to be
I mean,
honest.
but these are like big titles. Go ahead, continue.
Well, the next one was easy to finish because it was only 2 hours long, less than. Because I watched the Made in Abyss movie, Dawn of the Deep Soul, finally, because I definitely need to watch that before the second season, whenever
watch the first
that's
season.
coming out, will come out.
This year, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, but we haven't even gotten a date on that yet. And Mitsuki, you said you didn't watch it?
I haven't seen more than about 4 episodes of Made in Abyss.
Oh, interesting. Well, it's been a very long time since I watched Made in Abyss, obviously since it came out. So it's been a little while. So a lot of the things when I first started watching it, I was a little bit like, oh, wait a minute, did that actually, what happened again? Oh yeah, that happened. And I had to figure out that a little bit. But I have to say, I feel like this movie has a lot of the similar issues that Demon Slayer Mugen Train faced. Like, a lot of people were hyping up Mugen Train, and then a lot of people were like, wait a minute, that's it? And that's kind of how I feel about this movie. I heard great things about Dawn of the Deep Soul, and I was watching it, and it did not feel like it was flowing very well. I do think it probably would have been better served as part of the series. And some things were not, I feel like it wasn't really paced very well. I feel like everything that happened in this movie happened within like 24 hours. But they didn't act like it was. Like with, what's her name? Prushka, like the girl character that gets introduced in this movie. She's acting like this friendship with Rico has been going on for like days or weeks. But they literally just met. And they put so much emotional emphasis on their friendship in this movie when I don't even know who this girl is. So it didn't really give a lot of satisfaction in that aspect. And it's just like, okay, so now this is happening, and it doesn't really feel like, it just didn't feel like it was flowing very well to me. I don't know if everybody else feel that way. Like, I was a little bit tired when I was watching it too, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I don't know. It was not as impressive as I was hoping it to be. But
I definitely thought it worked way better as a movie than it would have in a show.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Because it doesn't take over like multiple weeks or days. It's like a very brief encounter.
Well, sure, but it didn't feel like it was paced as a movie should be paced, you know?
So long as they don't take the movie and then use it as an excuse to... It's like Dragon Ball Super came out, right? And they had the movie, and then they made the Dragon Ball Super series, and like the first 10 episodes of the fucking TV show were just the movie over again.
Yeah, and that's basically what happened to Demon Slayer, too.
I was just going to say that. That's what they did to Demon Slayer. Now you got to... And it's like, oh, we're going to double dip on this movie because the fans will definitely watch the 4 episodes of the Mugen Train arc again. Man, I did not think...
Yeah, I don't know if
think,
they'll do that or not.
I'm the only person that thinks the Mugen Train arc was not very good. I was like...
I have to say, I probably enjoyed Mugen Train as a movie better than I enjoyed Dawn of the Deep Soul as a movie. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that one is better than the other in terms of its content. I'm just saying that as a movie, I thought Mugen Train was it made more sense to me in comparison.
I'm not gonna lie, like other than the backstory in Mugen Train, that was a bad movie. Like there's no story.
We're gonna dig all this up again.
I mean, I agree. Both movies are taking our main characters and moving them through a place. It's just a season 1 here, season 2 needs to be over here. Let's have a movie to connect them. So they're similar in that regard. And it's just what happens during that traversal of either one layer or one car ride. But I would say Dawn of the Deep Soul is leagues better than the Demon Slayer movie. But that's just me. I think it does a lot more. It has a lot more to say.
I feel like this movie really goes to show that Reg is like hauling ass. Like he's doing it pretty much everything in this show. He is doing it all. Riko, I guess she like does some of the book stuff. Nanachi, smart, intelligent, knowing what's going on things. Nanachi is cute and she's street smart, but she doesn't really do all that much. Reg is like, well, now I gotta deal with this, and now I gotta deal with that, and I gotta protect Riko, and then I gotta take Nachi.
He's got Bionic Boy over here. What is some lady gonna do?
I know, but yeah, and he goes through quite a bit of shit in this movie. Honestly,
I'd say everyone goes through some shit.
Riko,
it's not an easy watch. I will say, like it's 2 hours almost, and it you feel every minute.
It feels like 4 hours.
It just it has some challenging moments where you're like, wow, I do not feel great watching this movie.
Like I will give that to Made in Abyss, and they do not miss it in this movie. Is the fact that they can take some cutesy looking things and put it through the roughest situations and make you feel like you're gonna throw up or something like that. There are several situations in this movie that remind you that this is not a show for kids.
I mean, I'm stealing from a Nuked Burger in the chat, but like compare the villains of like the Demon Slayer movie, which is just some guy at the end that they fight because they need to have a climax, versus like Bondrude, who is just this all-encompassing behemoth that is like well respected and is just a terrifying force of ideals and just like challenges our main character step after step and like forces them to like confront themselves, one another, like what their mission is, like what the purpose of all of this is, technology versus human progress versus like ethics. Like, oh, it's so deep because it's a deep soul and it's good. It's a good movie and it has the weird moments and it's beautiful.
I will say that I don't really find Bondrude as compelling as a villain as everybody else says he is. I don't know why. I don't know why like everybody finds him so great, but like he just seems like a guy, like a faceless guy who does some very horrible things to children, and it's just I don't really know. Is that
justified though? What he is? What we're not going to get into spoilers. No,
like I don't see how anybody can say that it's justified. Hardly anybody goes down to the 5th layer. I'm not seeing what his experiments have to gain the world.
How do you think all of them are still surviving up on the surface?
What do you
How
mean?
do you think their technology to save and like keep the nature and dangers of the abyss at bay? Why, like, he is at the forefront protecting the entire humanity on the surface. The sacrifices being made at the lowest levels are what's keeping all of society like functioning at the top. All those
You see,
technologies, all those findings.
I did not really make the connection. Like, I still don't really remember what he is doing. That
I'm not
helps
justifying
people.
what he did. I'm not saying he actually did
Oh
do
no,
a good
I
thing
know
or
that.
not. I'm just saying
But
like
I
that's
don't
what
remember
it
that
forces
being a
you to
factor.
think.
I really don't know what he does that helps people up on the
I
surface.
mean, he does,
Maybe I
he
missed
does
it.
a
And there's
lot of
plot
fucked up
point I
shit.
missed.
Let's be honest.
I don't know, but I mean, it is a good watch. Like, I'm still, of course, going to go watch the second season, but for whatever reason, I just did not really like this movie as much as other people do. I mean,
That's
it
fair.
has like an 8.6 on Mal, so people freaking love this movie.
Damn, they just
I don't know.
8.6.
But yeah, again, like they do not cut out some of the more gruesome stuff that they can show in the show. Like, they basically took all the gruesome stuff that they put in the first season, they made the same amount of gruesome stuff in this movie. So yeah. Oh, and also, drinking game. If you ever plan on watching this movie, plan a drinking game around how many times they say the word dawn. They say dawn constantly in this movie.
Damn. That's not really
sorry,
a word that you
took
would.
a little long.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Well, at least we all got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, I
Mitsuki.
don't really have anything else. The only thing I really did, other than what I've already talked about, was I rewatched Riding Bean again with some of my friends in Florida, and it's just fucking awesome. It's never gets old. So, but I'm not gonna talk about that again, even though it is awesome and people should watch it. We got time for maybe one more.
Do you want to go, Caroline, or you want me to go?
Like one more each?
Let's just do one more. I'll let you go. You got this.
Oh, okay. Because I did finish My Senpai is Annoying, and that was something that I passed up for. I did not pass for a review when it came out because there was a lot of other good stuff that came out that season, and also because I knew it wasn't going to be like a show that was going to have a big story to be a good review for. But it is very enjoyable. It is insanely cute. And I highly recommend it. I'm not sure what else there is to say about it, though, because, I mean, again, it's not really all that of a story that has a lot of branches to it or anything like that.
But you liked it, and that's what's important.
Of course. Yes, it's very good. Like a cute, funny romance thing.
Well, there you go. So what do we learn? Watch My Senpai is Annoying, watch Initial D, and
Watch Riding Bean.
You'll
no
probably
Kyoto if you
enjoy
wanna be
Dawn of the
comfy.
Deep Soul more than I did. And
I don't know.
as a nuked burger says in the chat, Kevin Penkin, yeah, he does again great stuff in this movie as the musical director.
Good soundtracks are good, indeed. I just like arguing with Caroline. You were fine.
Oh, me too. It's my
I
favorite
did
thing.
not like you.
No, but you did bring up some like the opposing views, so that's good.
Exactly. Devil's argument is what we do
Yes.
best. Let's get into our news break, but first we will give you a weekly trivia question to fry your noodle in the meantime.
Fry
In
the
Jobless
noodle.
Reincarnation, what is the name of the adventuring party that Rudeus forms? Think about it, and we'll
Jeez.
see you in a couple minutes.
Talk about a softball.
Listen, we need those sometimes.
Hey, Anime Addicts, Mitsuki is here, and I'm bringing you that sweet anime news break, starting off with a couple new anime adaptation announcements, starting with Kuro no Shokanshi, subtitled as The Berserker Rises to Greatness, which is a light novel, was announced by Bushi Road on Thursday. It's going to be coming out in 2022. The director and series composition is done by Yoshimasa Hiraike of Working, and the studio is going to be Studio Satellite. So it looks like this story, which is penned by Mayoi Dofu, has begun to be penned as an action fantasy novel clear back since June of 2016, and now it's going to be made into an anime. or the synopsis is that after waking up in a strange place with no memory of his past life, Kelvin learns that he's bartered away those very memories in exchange for powerful new abilities during his recent transmigration and heading out into a whole new world as a summoner, with his first follower being the very goddess who brought him over. So it sounds like really does sound like an isekai show. I don't know if it is or not, but we'll have to find out. Look out for the Berserker Rises to Greatness, where I'm sure he will find his memories later in the show in 2022. And next up, Science Sadu, which is a Mason favorite, is announcing a new original anime for the summer of 2022 titled Yurei Deko. So there is not a whole lot of information here about it, but Science Sadu has announced that it's going to be an original and it will be coming out this year. So look out for more from Masaki Yuasa's studio later on. And next up, we have some financial news. Bandai Namco, which has been in the news an awful lot these past weeks, has seen its group-wide toy sales increase by almost 13%. Recently reported its Q3 earnings briefing that the sales of plastic Gundam models, otherwise aka Gunpla, have been increasing throughout the last financial year despite COVID and despite the supply chain problems. Toy sales from April to December 2021 increased by 10% from the previous year, about $294 million, and the group-wide sales increased to about $661 million of Gunpla figures. So it plans to continue strengthening its production pipeline of Gunpla at the new Bandai Hobby Center in Shinkan Factory in order to meet the rising global demand. So it looks like Gunpla is doing quite well and is lifting the overall financial results for Bandai Namco Holdings as a result. And lastly, Bushiroad, again on the news break, has, well, as you probably know, had been suing people for online slander and had been working with law enforcement, etc., to get this civil suit on the road. And it seems like they have won their case. So they say, quote, "Since these procedures take a considerable amount of time, we have not been able to report on the progress, and we have received some inquiry from our customers, but we are pleased to announce that a judgment has been rendered in the first civil lawsuit, allowing us to claim damages for defamation." And they're currently looking for the people online that were, I guess, responsible for this, so that they can, sue them, I guess, or whatever. So, but it looks like Bushiroad has, at least my rudimentary understanding of legal things, is that they have won, and they will make, quote, appropriate use of their legal department and attorneys and take necessary measures to protect their content, voice actors, talents, etc. So look out for more news on this later down the road, I'm sure, as lawsuits tend to take a very long time. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break, and now time to get back to the podcast right now. You've been working hard at your job and you're driving home late. It's dark outside and your eyes are so very tired. I know, work is hard. But fear not, you have your podcast to listen to. Oh, what's that? You're all out of podcasts? Well, then on your way home, you'll probably accidentally catch a few seconds of shut-eye, drift off, and play the role of Truck-kun, sending some hapless person to an isekai world. Sounds fine, maybe, but they'll probably land butt naked in some town square and be ridiculed and harassed into a life of sadness and poverty. If only you had the AAA Podcast's extra content to listen to, we would have entertained you all the way to the safety of your home with our hentai episodes, our after parties, and our Hobby Addicts episodes. After all, who doesn't like to party? And what would keep you more entertained than talk of your favorite video games, TV series, and of course, anime boobies? Don't be a truck-coon. Head over to aaapodcast.com/join, or maybe you'll go to patreon.com/aaapodcast and support the show today. Again, that's aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
It's a rough life with Chi-Chi, okay? I'm actually going to put this one on Goku mostly. I mean, Goku, he's never there. Chi-Chi she's getting lonely, all in that little tiny house that's in the middle of nowhere. There's no neighbors. She's getting lonely. Suddenly, like, the mailman's starting to look good. She's like, the mailman. The mailman came by. I'm all alone. The pool boy. He's looking good. And to make matters worse, Gohan and Goten absolutely take after Goku. Like, they look exactly like Goku. They don't look like Chi-Chi at all.
His seed is so strong. He's so alien that it just takes over.
They look like Goku. They fight. All they want to do is fight. They're always wearing orange. Pretty soon she's got like PTSD. She's all like, oh my god, orange. She hates Halloween. She's just, oh my god. And before you know it, it's like Goku comes home. He hasn't been home in like 5 years. He comes home. She's not there, and there's just like divorce papers on the table.
Damn it! If only I could read, I would know what these papers mean.
He can't read it. He's got to go ask Piccolo. He's like, oh, Goku, this is not good. Korin like comes down. He's like, Goku, you can always live on Korin's lookout. With Yajirobe, that's when you know you've hit rock bottom. You're like hanging out with Yajirobe. Very timely, because as we know, Yajirobe and Chica, match made in heaven. They are gonna have they are gonna bond and make sweet love over a bowl of ramen, and it will be beautiful. So, and welcome back to the podcast. When we left you, we had an in-show trivia question for you. In Jobless Reincarnation, what is the name of the adventuring party that Rudeus forms? And if you've seen this anime, it's a pretty easy question. The answer is Dead End. It's a kind of a weird name, but that's,
there's a reason for it.
So we did have a Living Big in Japan today, which somebody wrote in, and I was going to answer their question, but I just feel very unprepared for this question today, so we're going to skip over it for now, and we can get to it at a future time.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
If you'd like to send a mailbag, just go to aapodcast.com, hit the mailbag button, and just send us any question that you want, really. It doesn't even have to be a question. It could just be like, hey, we like you guys, and we will take that as well. So basically, full reign.
Do you like or do you like us? You know?
Yeah, it's true. Anyway. So we got a question here from Raggedy Doctor who says, hey, Addicts, what would you say is the show you regret failing the most? And which show is the one you regret passing the most? A very interesting question.
Copcraft.
Mitsuki, you have any, oh, that was quick.
Yeah, Copcraft is fucking terrible. That anime is, wow. Yeah. As far as anime I regret failing, I don't really know. I mean, we don't really keep track of shows we fail. So it's not like
on the spreadsheet.
It's not on the spreadsheet.
No,
it is on the spreadsheet.
There's a page for it.
There is?
I see Rose thinks of everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you guys go ahead and I'll come back to it and answer in a second. I didn't realize that was on here.
Yeah, on the bottom of our
do your work, Mitsuki.
thing, on the right side, we have all the fails that weren't then later listener choice passed.
What the fuck is wrong with me?
And if people have no idea what we're talking about, Icy Rose keeps a very detailed log of everything we review and impress upon on this podcast. And you can find the spreadsheet if you go to our Discord for AAA podcasts and go to AA discussion channel, I think it is, and it's in the pinned notes.
Yeah, it's an MVP move for sure.
I mean, it is a very good spreadsheet.
It is. That's why we use it all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I have my answer. Apparently I failed Haikyuu. That's pretty bad. That was a big time miss. That was like years ago. I can't remember. That was 8 years ago. Okay, I can't remember why I failed it. I also failed Kuroko no Basuke season 2, which I regret because I haven't actually watched past season 1 and just part of season 2 from Kuroko no Basuke, and I'd like to watch more of it. So. But again, that's going back almost 10 years, so I can't remember why I failed Kuroko no Basuke, but I don't think either of those probably should have failed. So that was my answer.
The one that I regret passing is the Aquatope on White Sand because it was way too long to really to justify watching a show of this type, and we did not really enjoy it. So,
but to be fair, those first 3 episodes were like fine episodes.
Yeah, it's true.
Not that you were like, I don't know. You didn't know.
In retrospect, that one we probably did not have to review.
I mean, it wasn't an awful show. It just was 24 episodes. It just was
Of
longer
slice
than
of
it needed
life.
to be. Yeah.
It's just
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't great, but wasn't
No.
bad. One I regret failing, and honestly, I don't really have a lot to pick from here because I've only been here for like a year now, so not too many that I can pull from. But I guess my senpai is annoying, which I discussed earlier because I did enjoy watching that show. But I will still say that it wouldn't be a very interesting review, but it probably would have. If it had been a less good season, it would have deserved a review. And maybe Meiruko-chan, because I only watched. I still haven't watched any more than a couple episodes, but yeah, I've heard good things about it, so I kind of would like to complete it, I guess.
I get you. But at the same time, like when you talked about my senpai today, you were just like, yeah, it's a good show.
I know.
Like, yeah.
And, again, I didn't really have a very great answer for that one, but the Aquatope on White Sand, yeah, there was no other thing I regretted failing or regretted passing more than that one.
Yep. I regret passing the day I became a god. I liked that show, I think, far more than you guys did, and that was still like a 5 out of 10 because I really liked the first half before it just fell off a cliff. So I while passing it, I was like, I think I'm gonna like this, and Mitz will hate it, and I didn't know that we were all gonna dislike it as much as we did. So that's my regret there. Failing wise, Pretty Boy Detective Club ended up being better in the later arcs than it first came out of the gate with. That said, it came out in the same season as Odd Taxi and To Your Eternity, so I don't regret passing it over one of those shows. So I just probably should have given it more love so that we talked about it more, because it wasn't a terrible show, and it had some amazing animation in the last couple episodes that were super cool. We can ignore the stuff I put at the end there.
Okay, I was wondering what that was, but
that was the average score of the shows that we have passed.
Oh, so of the shows that we personally have passed,
so
what we
of
gave
all the
them on
shows
average?
Caroline has passed, collectively on this podcast, we've averaged a 2.58.
That's not great.
It's not great, but maybe there hasn't been great seasons for you to review since you've been on. So Mitsugi's average.
I've only had 4 seasons, so
exactly. And last season was not a standout.
Not a winner.
Mitsugi's average of all the shows he's passed is a 2.85, and my average is a 3.36. So you're guaranteed quality of some level if I pass a show. But who knows? Enough bad seasons, and we'll see if that goes down. Or maybe I'm just sabotaging all the shows you guys pick with bad scores. Maybe that's what I'm doing this whole time.
Just to add a little zinger to a listener mailbag.
Exactly. For no reason at all. For just no reason. Anyway, let's do this review.
Yeah.
Jobless Reincarnation, Season 2, a very prominent and popular anime. It's currently got an 8.8 on my anime list. The first season was also similarly heralded, I would say, with an 8.4. It's one of the most heavily watched anime of recently, So this is a heavyweight anime title for sure. The first season came out, had some controversy about it. But we'll get into all that. This is still done by Studio Bind. If you click on Studio Bind online, you'll find that they have done nothing except my Jobless Reincarnation, which is kind of impressive because I think this anime actually looks solid, and they don't really have much of a resume, so it's...
I mean, they were kind of made for this anime.
Well, there you have it. It is the story of Rudius Grey Rat, who is a bullied, kid in high school in the world that we know, and is bullied so badly that he becomes a shut-in, and we have they show you more about that in this season, which is interesting to see the backstory. And basically, he gets sent to another world as Rudius Grey Rat. He's born into this isekai world as a baby, who is with two parents. Paul is one of their. I think that's so funny. His name is Paul. Such a random name. Paul is the father's name, and the mother, I can't really even remember what her name is. Zenith, I guess her name is.
Yeah.
Zenith, which is a cool name. And so, of course, he retains his memories and knowledge of his prior life, and, he adapts quickly, and he's somewhat of a genius. As a lot of isekais go, the main character is pretty much OP, but not entirely so. So as you'll see as this review goes on, he's not. It's not like some isekai shows where the main character is so powerful that no one can even remotely hope to touch him or her. So he's born into this new world with the mind of an adult, quickly has an affinity for magic, and his second chance at life begins, and he goes out on his journey to overcome his past and makes friends and becomes an adventurer more or less. So this is based on a light novel, as a lot of isekai are, and it's directed by Manabu Okamoto, who directed the first season of Jobless Reincarnation. So there's a lot of continuity between the director and the studio. So you can pretty much expect a non-disrupted sequel, I guess I would say, for season 2 here from Jobless Reincarnation. And this was a listener choice show. I recall failing Jobless Reincarnation because I simply knew that the listeners were going to pick it anyway. So I figured I would just, let them do that, and I picked a different show in its place. So, and this show is available on Funimation. It is dubbed up until like the last 2 episodes, pretty much. So if you want to watch it dubbed, you can find it there. That is what I did. So, now moving on from that, expectations prior to watching it. I'm going to start with Caroline because I knew that she hadn't seen the first season. So Caroline did a lot of extra work watching this, and so give her some props. But what were you expecting going into Jobless Reincarnation?
In simple terms, apprehensive. So, I mean, of course, I heard about Jobless Reincarnation when it was, first part of the season was coming out. And what I heard, I was not exactly thrilled about the prospect of watching it ever. I mean, because I did hear a lot like, oh my gosh, like the design of it, the magic, the story, it's so interesting. But also, a big part of that conversation was about how grossly inappropriate it is. And everybody pretty much knows by now I'm not really good with that kind of stuff. And I will call everyone out. I will call every show out on its grossness. And this one is high up there. And so, of course, I was a little bit nervous about watching it because I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to enjoy watching this. But it is very good.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we'll get more into that later. But at the very least, going into it, I was like, ooh, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Mason, I knew you'd seen the first season, but so this might be a waste of time. But what did you have any expectation beyond what you had seen in the first season?
Not really. I think the big discussion lingering from part 1 was like, okay, we get this guy's a scumbag. Is he going to go on a redemption arc? Is he going to start like pumping the brakes on being an objectionable human? Like, are we going to start seeing him turn the leaf? And that's what I was kind of expecting going into season 2 is, are we going to start to see that transition? So besides that, more of the same.
And I'm pretty much in the same place, to be honest. I don't know. I had seen the first 3 episodes of this already, and I had seen the first season, so I knew exactly what I was getting. Moving on from that, Caroline, would you recommend this anime? This is your spoiler-free short review.
Yes. Yes, I would recommend it, but only if you can handle quite a bit of overkill inappropriateness. Like, there's fan service, but this is a different species of that.
Different breed. Yeah.
You see, actually, I don't really even think there's a whole lot of what we would typically call fan service in this show. I would call it more of like objectionable human beings saying very horrible things about, certain characters. And there isn't really a lot like, hey, look at these big boobs, except for, that one character who has massive boobs that are just barely being covered. there really isn't a huge portion of that. It's really just people being very disgusting humans. So in that aspect, not a lot of fan service, but yeah, it's a bit overkill, especially in certain parts. But I found it intriguing to watch, and if that tells you anything, it tells you if you can handle it, then it's probably worth watching.
Mason, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's still a good show. I feel like the overt perversion is very front loaded in the series. I think the first couple episodes is when it's at its worst, and if you can get over that, the rest are, it's kind of like driving with speed bumps. You're like, this is a perfectly fine road. Why did they have to have these speed bumps there?
That's a
But
good analogy for that.
Digest it, you slow down, you're like, it is what it is. I digest it, and you move on, and you're like, if only they weren't there, I would love it so much more. But it's a lot of what season 1 is. If you like the fantasy, if you like the magic system, if you like going on an adventure, it has all that in spades. It's not quite the show for me. I don't think it says a lot of the deeper, grimier stuff that I want out of my shows, but it's still not the worst watch in the world. So yeah, give it a shot. You know what you're in for at this point.
As for me, this is an easy recommendation. It's probably, I don't know. I mean, what else came out in the fall? I don't even fucking know. Probably nothing better than this. Let me just take a look.
Well, we have not gotten to ranking of kings yet.
My dude.
We have
Ranking of
not gotten
Kings
to a summer ranking.
has about the same score as Jobless Reincarnation, although it's not done yet, so it'll probably drop from where it is. Other than that, it's the highest rated show from that season. It's also the highest watched show. So it's an easy recommendation. I honestly don't think people really care about perversion very much. Like, you know, we're going to complain about it, but like people don't give a shit. So, I mean, it's a fact. Like people watched season 1. It was horrendously perverted from the first minute, and yet season 2 has more viewers than season 1 does. So people just don't care. I mean, it's, I don't know. You know, they will look past it for superior world building, good characters, great action scenes when they have them, and that's what this show pretty much brings to the table. It's got, you know, recently unparalleled world building, I would say. There are things that happen in the story that are really interesting. Most of the characters are exceptionally enjoyable. There's some action scenes in this season that are really fucking strong. There aren't as many as in the prior season, but maybe there's 3 total in this season. Granted, this season's pretty short. It's easily recommendable. You have to watch the first season first. It's not one
I don't
of the,
know if you could say easily recommendable. It's like, because the moment that somebody watches this show and they see they hear the things that they say and allude to in this show, you cannot just say this is easily recommendable, because there's a lot of people that would hate to hear that.
We're gonna get into it. I understand that like not everything is appealing to everybody, but this is the 34th highest ranked anime ever right now. So, I mean, most people are giving this a 10 at this point. I would say 560,000 reviews, and the score is almost a 9. So it's like a statistical anomaly. I don't know how else to put it. I would say you may be turned off by inappropriate humor that sometimes doesn't land and feels out of place. However, I don't know. I kind of expect it from anime, honestly. So anime just doesn't really care, and I don't know. It's not a much concern to me. Anyway, I thought this season was exceptional. If you like fantasy shows, you're gonna enjoy this one a lot. But there are some pretty odd things that happen in this season, as is the case with the first season. And we're going to get to that here in spoilers. So, does anybody else have anything they need to say before we just plow right through here?
Let's plow.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
Where do we start?
Well, I had to rewatch the beginning because I couldn't remember it, but I really enjoyed the section of the show where they were in the forest village.
Yeah.
I thought that.
Doldia?
What is it
Wasn't
called?
that the
Doldia Village?
Oh, okay. I
Where
wasn't
he
sure
was
if that was
like
the blue
trapped
haired
in the
people or whatever.
cage
Yeah,
for a little
exactly.
bit, and then he got freed, and then that one.
Yeah, it's Ghislaine's like hometown.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just it was this show has, in my opinion, great characters in it, and Eris gets a lot of good development in this like short section of the show. You know, she basically takes these two like beast people, like cat girl type characters under her wing and helps develop them, and it's very emotional like when they leave the village, because they don't want her to leave, and you get a very realistic immature reaction from the girls when she says she's going to leave. And I don't know, I just thought that whole beginning section of the show was super strong.
It's a little strange that they chose to fight the girl that they are trying to keep, like physically punch her in the face in order to get her to say that's not really gonna help.
Yeah, it's just
But,
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like if you're 10 years old and you're more likely to pull the girl's hair that you like than give her a flower. So, but I don't know. I really enjoyed I enjoyed pretty much all sections of this show, of this season, and the beginning was where I would start with it. Did you guys enjoy the section? Also, there was an awesome fight scene on the forest arc.
I guess if we're starting there, I feel like most of the story of season 2 was just reunion apology arcs. They might as well have called this show Jobless Reconciliation. You had Ona and Eris. They get in a fight, they apologize, they get back together. Rudy and his father, they get in this fight, they make amends, they get back together. Roxy goes back home. She's like, I've been away for like 20 freaking years. We're in a fight. We get back together. It was a lot of the family and friends, forgiving, understanding, and that like same formula just kept on getting spun again and again and again. And I'm not saying they were done poorly. As an individual level, Rudy and his father, that was emotional. Tona and Eris, that was nice. Like, they weren't bad by themselves, but it started getting a little too repetitive, is how I would put that. Though I did like the comedy of Rudy like describing all his prisons as if they were like homes on the market.
That's
He's
hilarious.
Like, great view. I love this. The food's all right, and he's just like
you
trying to make the
that.
best.
It's for free.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a nice way
the-
to begin those things.
Funniest parts of the show were those scenes. Yeah, that was pretty good.
And I did like the comedy in the show. Even I don't know if it was meant as comedy, but like there's a time where like Rudy was thinking like impure thoughts on the boat, and it jumps to like a shot of like a sperm whale like spouting out. I thought that was clever. There was a shot where like there's like a promiscuous elf in Roxy's party. She's getting it on with all these other people. Fine, good on her. And Roxy's like, "Oh, did you guys find anything today?" And she's like, "I drew blanks." Like, I didn't know if that was a pun on like her activities outside of investigating, but that was clever. I like how Rudy, spoilers, dies, and he's like, "That's life." Like there's a lot of little moments like that where I'm like, this show is clever, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's better than shooting blanks, which is probably what Rudy's did at the end of the season. But oh my god,
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
I don't. I guess. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just based on, because we did just talk about the forest and all that. Like, there is one thing that I found very cool about this show is that they created these fake languages, and not only just like I said hello in a fake language, and like no, they're having full on discussions in these fake languages for like a whole scene, and that's pretty impressive because some shows and movies they will come up with these fake languages and then they'll switch back to English or whatever language the medium is usually told in. So the fact that they actually go in depth with these languages, and they don't explain what how it all works or anything like that, but they do put in the effort to kind of incorporate that into the show, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we don't need how they're explained, but it just helps lend the feeling of fantasy and stuff.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it had to do that, but I was just reiterating something. I was trying to re-explain it, I guess.
Yeah. Another thing, since I said something good about the show, another thing that kind of bugged me, the only thing more consistent than like characters making amends was there's a whole lot of like misconnections and misunderstandings, which just isn't
Yeah.
compelling. When like Roxy and Rudy, they're at the same town, but they keep on missing one another.
And he's like, oh,
When
see them in the background.
when Rudy is like mistaken for like the thief of the sacred beast, who I was expecting that dog to join the party, but
I wanted him to. So cute.
yeah, he was a cutie, but like now he gets captured. Now I get that's what was needed for him to be taken hostage, but it just is frustrating. And then they go to the Doldians and they're like, "We know your sister," and the guy gets like super angry. He's like, "You can't know her," and he like storms off. And it's like, or episode 5, like he meets the father, but like then there's a twist, but then it's like, I'm not the thief, but or not the thief, but like an invader wearing the panties on the head.
Oh my
which is,
god,
like,
they
a
had to bring
reference.
that back.
There was just a lot of moments where it seemed convenient. Things were always convenient. Like they were about to leave Doldia, and that geese dude just pops back up so that he can travel with them, say something, and then leave. Or they're talking about, by the way, who's the second strongest person of all time? Oh, and then he shows up 2 seconds later. Like a lot of things that just, I don't know, just seemed convenient. The human god character still doesn't have a payoff for me yet. Maybe that will change over time, but there's a lot of things that are just, they're still cooking in the oven, and I haven't been sold on why they need to be there yet. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean,
sorry, rambling.
sure, yeah, no worries. I mean, to me, there were a lot of interesting things that happened in this season. I thought that the magic disaster was kind of unexpected. I didn't really realize what had happened. And the scale of that disaster really kind of unfolds as the season rolls on. It starts off with the reuniting of Rudius and his dad, and the dad is like all fucked up, like mentally, and he's just not the same character as he was before, and you're like, oh, I wonder like what's going on here. And then they give this backstory, and it was interesting because Rudius is he's this character that sits down at the table with his dad, and the dad just like lays into him, and the dad looks like a total asshole. But it was interesting because I kind of agreed with both of them. It's like on the one hand, Rudius is kind of ignorant to what happened, because he's not aware of the disaster. I mean, I don't think they knew what happened exactly. But like his dad's been through so much and has been trying to like do good, so to speak. And I can understand the frustration, all of like the pent up, just emotions that had to have been built up over the course of that year or whatever. And then to hear that like Rudius was kind of just like frolicking around, hanging out in like villages and just fucking around, and from his perspective kind of made me sympathetic to Paul. But like at first it looks like Paul is just being a dick, and then like the more you hear the conversation, you realize that like his opinion actually is meaningful, and then he kind of like comes around too. So I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I don't know. I enjoyed the second section too.
I think Paul is a dick in several different ways. I
Yes.
would say I was more on Rudy's side in that conflict than I was on his. I mean, sure, he came up with some pretty good points. And I will agree, they did spend a lot more time on this demon continent than I thought they were going to be, because it did seem like they were getting very settled into this adventurer's lifestyle. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys have to go back home, right? What are you guys doing? Like, surely you should be putting more emphasis on getting closer to where you need to be.
No, it's the raining season. We're gonna stay here for 3 months and just not go anywhere.
Yeah, that. It was like, wait a minute, you guys have been there for 3 months? Wait a minute, you guys been at this for a whole year? A year and a half goes by and you still aren't home yet? Surely you could have gotten there a little bit faster.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I didn't mind. Like you said, Mitz. I think the balance between Paul and Rudy and their like points and opinions were well established, and yeah, I felt good. I don't know why that one character had to be so scantily dressed. Hey, but that's on her. That's all good. Another character that I wasn't sure about their outfit in, or just their whole demeanor, but I guess you could argue it, is the immortal demon empress, the pink-haired, horned lady with the multiple sets of eyes.
The
That
Deus
just-
Ex Machina
Two
that
pieces of
popped
black
up.
tape over her chest. Yeah.
Just narrowly. Well, one of two Deus Ex Machinas, because there's two gods in this
Yeah,
that we know
yeah.
of. But her inclusion, I guess, and the man gods were both a little wild, but was just it just didn't fit. Like, I get having eccentric wild characters, but she seemed like she came from a Trigger show and like was not in universe at all. And maybe that's just how demons are. They're just that abnormal. Fine.
She
I
reminded
get
me.
that.
She reminded me of a character from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
That's another good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, big Dragon Eye vibes, and it had to happen. I liked how his eye was portrayed, and most of the visuals in the show are quite good.
Yes,
We'll
good.
get to that later, but she just was another inclusion that I was just like, I don't. It's not part of the dish. It's not going well. I would push it off to the side and be like, you can stay there. I'm not gonna engage with that.
It's a weird seasoning they put on this.
It is. It is.
Probably the
I
first.
think. Yeah, go ahead.
Probably the first thing in the season that I didn't enjoy that I thought was just stupid bullshit was the section where Rudius is like in the magic prison. I didn't really see the point. The Prince character that like popped up,
Yeah.
who's like a pervert, is
Was it Pax something?
whatever his name is.
Yeah,
He was fucking
Pax, I think.
terrible. He was an insufferable
he was
character.
Yeah,
Just
honestly, that
a swing and a
episode was
miss.
easily the worst one because it made no sense.
Yeah, it's just a huge swing and a miss. And it's just, they spent basically 10 minutes just being perverts and bonding over the fact that they're perverts and I don't know. It's I don't know. Rudius is also just too calm and collected for his background character. So he's got like this, his background character that you get a lot of background later is just I don't want to say he's like a disaster of a human, but like, I mean, he kind of is. But he's also way more mentally headstrong in this like rebirth, so to speak, than he is originally. Even though he's clearly the same person, you're the guy who gets bullied at school and then like never leaves his house for 20 years or whatever is the same guy that can smooth talk his way out of like pretty much any situation. So like, and that was demonstrated in that episode pretty clearly. He's just too intelligent and calm and collected under any circumstance. And we'll get to that later in the season too, to like justify, to be justifiable, considering the backstory. But that entire section was just fucking terrible. It was really not good.
I agree. I didn't like that section. I could kind of see. So first of all, the backstory on Rudius's life, I thought it was earnest. It wasn't like so campy and drawn out. It wasn't like a 2-episode arc of stuff like kind of similar to ReZero's a couple seasons back. Like, I thought it was well done. And I could argue that maybe the confidence of having magic and having people kind of respect him and being around others gave him a bit of confidence, and knowing that like both Zenoba and Pax are just big goobers, and he was like, okay, these are dimwits, I can handle this. Maybe that gave him some confidence. I will say this scene of like Zenoba like pulling at like the throat and neck of Pax like as the decapitator was like literally gripping, and was probably the highlight of that episode. But I think the big moment of this season is, can we blame Rudy for being a massive perv? Like, I get that he's a creep. There's no doubt about it. But I feel like early on in one of the episodes, someone's like, oh, your face is creepy. And like, can you blame someone if they have a creepy face? Can you blame someone if their just natural inclinations is to be that way? And I feel like we've already made up our mind at this point, but I feel like that's where the show is kind of headed. Like, if this is just the way he is, this is his nature, can we blame him for being a creep? And the answer is yes, we can.
Yes.
But it's playing around with some ideas that are a little uneasy, and that's where I think a lot of things come into play.
I mean, based on my viewing of the first and second part of this show, he does things that no human should do, regardless of your living circumstances and situations that you've been in your life. Because he quite literally planned to groom one of his childhood friends into being his girlfriend. I can't remember if it was just Eris or if it was Sylphie or both of them, but he had thoughts that was literal, I'm going to groom this girl into being my girlfriend. And you can say like, oh, it's just an anime, but people do that. People will like, and he is also physically like a kid, but a grown-ass man will like get close to a girl that is a child and become close to them with the intention of making them a romantic interest later on in life.
Everyone knows unless you're Edward Cullen, you can't groom girls. That's just, he's the only person that can get away with it. Unless you're a 1,000-year-old vampire. Otherwise, off limits.
This show doesn't do itself any favors by having the character originate as a perverted, like, 35-year-old or whatever, because anything that happens with Rudius and any other character is automatically unallowed because he's older than these other characters. If he was actually like a 12-year-old kid, people would not be complaining about his interaction with any of the other characters in the show. But because he's actually 34 in his head, he can't kiss a girl, try to make a girl his girlfriend, play with some panties, or do anything else because it's always pedophilic, basically. That's the bottom line. Now, I mean, I don't really disagree with that, I mean, we're going to get to the end of the show here, like, before long, but...
Yeah, it's tricky. It's certainly tricky.
I can see within a certain amount that I can overlook certain things, but they really go ham on making this as inappropriate as possible. Like, they know they want you to feel disgusting about it a little bit. And honestly, there is some, like, that is his main interest as a character, is that he is a disgusting human at a lot of points in the show, and that is his main, like, without that, he's too Mary Sue, he's too perfect. So could there be a better, a flaw in his character that they could have gone with other than this? Sure. Could they, pull back on it a little bit more if they're going to go with that? Absolutely.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, so after Rudius reunites with his father, and you hear about the backstory of the magical disaster, which is pretty much the crux of this series season, I would say.
I still don't know what happened. I still don't understand what the deal was. I don't think any of the characters do either.
I don't think you're meant to know. Like, I assume some person probably created that, caused that to happen, because it's a lot easier to have a conflict with a
bunch of displaced people,
with an antagonist that you can actually tangibly go after. If it was like, oh, a random earthquake happened, like, you can't really set off on a journey to rectify the wrongs of the past for an earthquake. So I'm assuming some asshole casted some spell that blew up half the continent. I'm pretty sure that's probably true, having not read the manga. But after that, I mean, is there anything else really in this season before we talk about the end of the season? Because the end of the season was where, like, I got through it, or where I think it gets turned on its head. But
yeah, sure.
Are we missing anything? I want to make sure we don't miss something.
I mean, it's a lot of small interactions, lore building. We had like a one episode where like Roxy goes back home, and you're like, okay, all the Roxy fans are happy. Okay, now we can go back to the real story.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say that I was waiting for a very, very long time for a male character to appear in this show that was not disgusting, because there were a ton of them, especially in part 1. But then there were less of them in the second part. But then came the bae of the entire series in what's his name?
Ruijerd?
Yes, him. Yeah, he's yeah.
Are you pro hair or pro bald?
Honestly, at first I was like, ew, when he went bald. No offense, Mitsuki. But then that kind of grew on me. And then when they showed the figurine of him with hair, I'm like, yeah. and then like the flashbacks with him with hair, I'm like, I don't know, the bald is kind of working for him.
I want to really commend the attention to detail in this show, and we'll get into art and animation later, but to be able to track across a team working on a bunch of episodes at once, like, okay, this character his eye has changed. You have to change the eye. This character has hair. The haircut has changed. The patches on clothes, the exchanges of headbands and necklaces, like
Yeah.
all that had to be tracked and kept, and like that's extremely hard to do. That's why characters look the same and wear the same outfits in every episode, because navigating all that is so difficult. So for this team to be able to manage that and with all the small changes is really exemplary.
I will say, as much as I loved Ruijerd, then of course the one at that point when he was introduced, the one unobjectable good guy of the show, he of course has to be like the most trigger happy. He literally murders somebody for, I don't know, like kidnapping animals and then giving them back for money. That's like, it's like, wow. Maybe he's not the objectionable great guy of the show.
I feel like the show has more good guys than just Ruijerd or whatever, or however the fuck you say his name.
The second part, yes, but
I hate his name.
I will say that in the first part, I can make a whole list of all the male characters and explain why each of them have very problematic qualities.
I mean, I think Eris is a good guy. I don't think she.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about the male characters, not the female characters.
I think Paul's a good guy.
Literal good guys.
Yeah.
I think Paul's a good.
Well, Eris
Paul's
was a
a good
bitch.
guy.
I mean, she grew on me, but she like in the first part, oh my god, I could have punched that girl.
What is wrong with Paul?
Oh, are you kidding?
As Peke just yells out cheater in like, what is it, episode 2 or 3?
He literally, oh god, he's there. What isn't wrong with Paul? I can see now why, like, with Rudy, like people kind of just overlook a lot of his very concerning behavior because that's apparently very normal in this world.
I mean, he did cheat on his wife, but you know, I feel like.
Oh no, but then he goes to his like 5-year-old son and says, you know, she's gonna be a looker when she's older. You better, you know, the Sylphie.
I mean, I guess.
I'm like, no, it's like he's like alluding to sex to a 5-year-old.
He does scour the earth for his family and puts together an entire like small army of people to try to find, you know, his.
He does some good things.
I mean,
absolutely.
But there are certain qualities of him that are just like.
Also,
ooh.
every time anyone ever talks about Paul as like from his adventuring days, it's always meant with like he is a scumbag and they have contempt for him.
Okay, well, that's not really worth fighting over.
He's not great. I do like going back real quick with Ruijerd that like people come and go from the party. Like he doesn't just like, oh, this is the main character, I'm going to stick with them for the next 200 episodes. He's like,
as much
I've
as
got
I would have
my
loved
own
that.
stuff to do.
Yeah.
And they leave and they part and it's not drawn out and campy. It's like good, and I appreciate that. I wish the dog was in the party, but let's get to the good stuff. At the end.
So let's talk about that, because the ending of the show is almost the only thing worth discussing in some ways, because the rest is just more of the same. But so at the end of the show, they run into the dragon god, and everybody except Eris and Ruijerd know immediately that he is way too much for them, and he's actually going to let them go. And then
I don't know. I think that was the whole curse thing. Like they had no choice but to like stand still in fear because of his curse. But Rudy wasn't part of that because he was from another world or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. And Rudy opens his mouth and gets fucking murked.
Yeah, I was like, Rudy, shut up. Just follow their lead.
In honestly, what I thought was a very tense scene, a very good action scene.
Yeah.
You know, Ruijerd puts up a good fight for about 10 seconds and then gets fucking fucking KO'd in one shot. You know, Eris tries, but she's obviously no match. And Rudius puts up way more of a fight than I think he should be capable of. And it's pretty intense. Like, you have to really have seen the scene to understand what the character's behavior is after the scene. But, like, Eris is laying there against a wall, and she literally watched Rudius get impaled by the guy. He just jams his arm right through his chest.
Yeah, he really Chidori'd that.
Yeah,
good old donut action.
You know, and then Rudius is like dying. You know, he does die actually, and then the Deus Ex Machina brings him back, which is kind of like, I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I don't really even.
I don't know if he does die.
No, but
he doesn't get revived from the god. The god doesn't save him.
It's the guy who
the
killed
Dragon
him.
Lord is like, oh, he's not meant to die now,
Yeah,
and he
I
like
guess.
heals him. But it's still, it seems like he died. Actually, no, he's not. It's not ready yet.
Well, it doesn't make much. There's no answered question there because like he kills Rudius because he knows the man god, which clearly the dragon god does not like. And then in like one phrase, as they put it, from the other girl that's with the dragon god, he just decides, oh, I'm just going to completely 180 my entire, what is clearly a very strong conviction, because he, without even a millisecond of hesitation, just goes for Rudius's life the minute man god leaves Rudius's mouth. To, I'm just going to full on save you because my partner said one word to me. So I don't know what the fuck that's all about.
Well, it will be explained in the future, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. And then, they go on from that, and then Rudiger just leaves the party. I assume he'll be back within 3 more episodes. If he leaves the party for no reason, even though the only reason why he made any progress and on his quest to clear his name is because of Rudius. And then there's the scene with Eris. But first of all, how did you guys... I thought the scene with the Dragon God was probably the best scene in the season. So
it was pretty epic.
So how do you guys feel about that?
It was a slick animation fight. They have been leading up to them with like a lot of like Eris and Rudius like sparring matches, but like it was just an action scene. Like it really didn't do much for me. Like it was just a fight. I don't know. Is a couple moments of Sakuga enough to be like, yay, this is a great show? Like,
I guess so, but it was probably one of the more exciting parts of the show, I guess.
I don't know. It's just that like a lot of anime have just dog shit masquerading as action, like where characters will run across each other, a light will flash, someone will fall down, or it's like a series of still images that kind of like pan, and it's not really even animated. And I feel like
after all the mediocre isekais and fantasies that we've had to watch over the last few months, this one definitely puts it over the top.
Yeah, it's like aside from Demon Slayer, which is the opposite of what you normally get, which is Demon Slayer is just nothing but pretty action scenes and has more or less no story. Most shows don't even bother to even have action scenes really when they masquerade as action shows, and this show had like probably a full 10 minutes of very tense, like you're fucking gonna die right now. In some ways, I kind of wish some of these characters had died. It kind of would have given more punch to it. But I don't know. I'm so used to getting like beaten up with just like trash animation that like when they finally do something and it lasts longer than like 8 seconds, I get all happy in my underwear. So.
I love watching good animation, and this show has it when it needs to. And like the scenery in this show looks great, the fight sequences look great, but then you get lumpy tavern scenes and CG butterflies, and I'm like, is it really worth it? Like, why in episode 3, naked Rudy flips around in bed for no reason? He just, and shot to shot, he disappeared. Like, I like more consistency across my shows. That's why I love Heike Monogatari. You don't get sequences like this, but you get that similar, everything looks within the same universe. And while I'd rather just go to Sakugaboro and watch a GIF of this fight than actually watch the 24 episode show that it was part of, because there was no build up to it. There was no stakes. And obviously these characters are going to come back as part of their power scaling within the world. Like, yes, there is something to this fight, but it was just more, to me, it felt like we need to have a really badass fight. Fight this guy. Okay, haha, they got wrecked. Cool. Okay, next episode. Like, there wasn't more to that for me.
I thought that Ruiger might have been dead. He looked pretty dead, laying in the snow like that.
Oh, yeah, with it piling up. And that was cool. And, like, the scene, my favorite directing trick of this episode was Eris, like, flies at the dragon lord or whatever, and you see him, like, just catch her blade between his fingers. And you don't see what he does, but you see one shot of Eris coming in left to right. He catches the blade, and then the next shot is Eris flying right to left as she's thrown against the wall. Like, they didn't need to show us this, but it captured the intensity and speed and brutality of it so well. Like, it was just really well done without needing to sacrifice more budget and frames and animation. So it was a well-directed scene. There's no doubt about it.
And that moment is part of what perplexes me so much about the end of the season, because Eris is like basically frozen with fear or awareness that she should not be fucking with Orpheus or whatever the hell his name is. Is it Orpheus? Ostrud.
Orsted or something.
Orsted. All right. Orsted is not to be fucked with. She knows it. They don't even want to look at him.
No, because that's the curse. They are forced to do that. It's not something that they like, okay, we're not supposed to fuck with this guy. It's like, no, like they are mentally forced to not do it.
Okay, well that kind of makes my point, because then the minute Rudius is in danger, she is able to overcome all of that and just lunges at him without a single thought. And whether it's fear or some curse or magic or whatever, it doesn't matter. The amount that she cares for Rudius just makes all of that not matter, and she's able to just go at him, for his life. And then at the end of the show, she just like pieces out, and I'm like, well, if you really cared about somebody that much, like you're willing to die for them, you're willing to overcome a curse, you're willing to, wipe the pee off yourself and go fucking lunge at the guy because overcome your fear. It's kind of weird that you would just like peace out and then just leave that person. Yeah,
that was pretty
in such a shitty,
sudden.
In a shitty way too. She just kind of like ghosts him,
and leaves her hair on the ground, which is kind of gross.
Yeah. So, all right. So at the end of the season, Ruijerd leaves, which is sad because he's a great character. I'm 100% sure he'll be back. And then they go and they find Ghislaine, which is very coincidental. And
how was Ghislaine not searching the ends of the earth for Eris, though? Like, tell me, I was fully convinced that she was out there looking for her this entire time.
I mean, maybe
she's
she
her
was
bodyguard.
Still part of like the organizational tree. Like she's not hired by Eris, so she's like, oh, I guess I have to work for the family in the meantime. Well, I don't know.
They're clearly bad at finding people because Paul's been looking with like a small army for his family for who fuck knows how long. He can't find them. Roxy can't find Rudius in one single city.
It's about convenience. She needed to be there, so they found each other. That's how it works.
And then she finds out that like her whole family's dead, which is not that shocking. And they blamed her father for the for the disaster, which is probably not true.
Her grandfather.
Yeah, which we saw a couple episodes prior.
And then she just kind of goes off and gets all sulky or whatever she normally does, and then she comes to Rudius in the middle of the night and insists that they have sex, which is where the
Meow.
Yeah. Oh, you like that? Caroline's making a funny face.
It's more of like an ooh face because you're bringing sweet, innocent Yurie into this.
Let me have your
You can make the meow sounds yourself.
Let me have your kittens.
Nya, 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 nya.
Stop that. That's not right.
Okay, devil's advocate. Besides that line, I would say that the sex scene, dare I say, was done tastefully.
Because they can't show underage kids having sex in this show.
Well, sure, by our Western puritanical standards, they are underage kids. But in this show, devil's advocate, Eris has grown into a woman by the standards of society. She's been like certified W warrior by Best Boy. Like she was about to be shipped off to be a concubine to some lord for some political like means.
Yeah.
Like she is an adult. They are adults in this era, in this timeline, in this world, whatever it is, and they like to go with like the flipping cup as like Rudy like goes through his like catalog of like their time together, and especially someone who hasn't seen part 1 for a year, it was kind of be like, oh, I remember when they did the dancing episode or they did this or that. Like it was a cool flashback, and the way that the cup drops into its own liquid and disappears as like the deed commences or whatever, I thought that was kind of smart. Do I like that it happened? Probably not. Did I think that line was very like anime? Like, why are they saying this in this world? Did it fit? No, it was not the best. But like,
it makes sense for Eris's parents to do that, though. I'm not surprised that Eris's parents said that when they had sex.
As a mass of humanity, I think the collective viewership has a problem with this scene. Personally, I don't really care. I understand why it's objectionable. I mean, really the only reason why it's well, I don't know. This is anime. It's like, oh, they're second cousins. It bounces off of me like I don't even give a fuck. But
I mean, second cousins are legal. That's fine.
I know,
that
but
doesn't bother
weird.
me. It is weird, but it's not. The reason doesn't bother.
the reason why people should care is because Rudius is actually 35.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we should care. But from Eris's perspective, it seems pretty normal. I can't really pretend that I can adequately and with any common sense apply the logic of the human Earth to like a fantasy world. If Eris wants to have sex with him and she's 15, then and that's normal in their world. Like, who am I to judge? 1,000 years ago, the Romans were having sex with like 4-year-old boys, and you know what I mean. So it's like I'm not really gonna look at this scene and be like, oh, this is so awful. I just don't understand what the fuck went on at all, because as for the people listening, they have sex, which I think is completely unnecessary. And by the way, Rudius didn't really want to. And
I mean, eventually he was convinced.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was convinced, but
yeah,
of course he at first he did say no.
He tried to be
Understanding of the
more
situation.
reasonable, and then gives in. But like, and then like she just ghosts him the next day and is gone.
I know.
She cuts her hair off, and she looks terrible now. By the way, she cuts her hair
really
off.
looks
Oh no, short hair Eris is fine.
She
No,
looks
but
like
but
a
her
boy.
hair was so
She looks like a
lovely.
fucking boy, and she looks terrible. And it's
I feel like
also,
there really wasn't an obvious need to do that.
it's also pukishly cliche. It is the most overused, tripe, just nonsense. Like girls
That's true.
girls have been cutting off their hair and like marching off on an adventure since long before even Princess Garnet did it in Final Fantasy VIII, fucking 23 years ago. It's just so overdone and dumb and stupid.
As silly as it was to do in
hate
this show, it really has no comparison to how it was done and how a real Assyrio rebuilt the kingdom.
Christ, they do
because
it in
this
every
girl was
fucking
like
show.
literally just having a conversation with a warlord or whatever. And then she was like, I challenge you, cut off my hair, and then I'll see you on the battlefield next week. How about that? I'm like, what was the purpose?
I just don't understand why she leaves. Does anybody have an
She loves
explanation?
him.
From what I can understand, she just wants to grow strong enough to protect him in the future. But honestly, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, their relationship, I can kind of see them growing closer, but she is so devoted to him in a really weird way sometimes. Like the way that she like gets so
Well, she's
after
in love with
their
him. It's
show-
obvious.
Yeah, but like they're like in certain conversations, how devoted she is to him, it just seems like, well, 2 years ago you punched him in the face for no reason, you know?
I mean, but you're not. But I just don't understand any. I mean, so if I were to tell a joke, I'd say he had a micro penis. They had sex. She found out some things she didn't want to find out, and she's like, you know what? I can't deal with this for the next 70 years, so I'm just gonna like peace out now. But like in reality, all joking aside, I can't think of a reason why she would just leave him if she really loves him, which is what I kind of got out of the fight scene, which is what I mentioned before. And
I mean, she literally yells, "I love Rudy" at the end of the
Yeah.
episode.
and then all she's doing while she marches around with Ghislaine afterwards is talking about how great Rudius is. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, why the fuck aren't you with Rudius, continuing on your adventures or whatever? And by the way, I don't even know what the fuck she's doing. She's just like, I'm just going to go off with Ghislaine now and have this meaningless... It's just so stupid. They're all going to recombine within like 4 episodes. Yeah. All 3 of them will be back together, plus Ghislaine, trying to find out who caused the disaster, to clear Eris's grandfather's name, and simultaneously finding Zenith. That's what the story will be.
I think the next step, of course, is finding Zenith, but also going to magic school. So I don't know if they'll actually...
Oh, fuck me, I hope not.
I don't know. It was alluded to at the end of the last episode.
Well, who's going to teach them at this point? Rudius is like a saint-level mage.
Come back.
Jeez, there's nothing left to teach. I mean, Rudius would be the teacher.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Anyway,
but,
I don't know. Do we have any... It just doesn't make sense.
I kind of got the feeling like, I didn't really quite understand like the whole implications of Eris coming back and becoming a concubine. I thought like maybe if she stuck around, that was her only choice, was to do that or just leave and go off secretly with Ghislaine.
That's the explanation I was gonna give.
I know, have you seen Castlevania? Because the 2 characters in that have an awful lot of great adventures together, and they're obviously having sex all the time. So.
Are you saying that Eris and Ghislaine are gonna have sex?
Oh no, I thought you were talking about Eris.
The question is why couldn't
Rudius's
Eris and Rudy go off on the adventure?
I don't
But
know.
yeah, it's sometimes you just gotta get away from someone you've been traveling with for 2 years and just be like,
maybe.
we
That
need
doesn't
a break,
make any
my guy.
sense. 2 days ago she was willing to die for him, and the only thing I could think was that she was so fucking traumatized by that event that she just couldn't bear to be around anymore because she couldn't like stand to watch that happen again. But then I'm thinking, well, would you rather him just go die off somewhere by himself all alone? I mean, I don't know.
Like literally
It's
right
just-
after. I could see maybe possibly doing it when they did not just have another friend leave them alone. Like, and you're like right after that heartbreak, you are going to further drive him into the ground and being alone.
It's just, I don't know.
Time to
It's
start
really-
taking down the world powers, baby.
It's just very strange. I mean, yeah, I don't know. God, the whole thing is weird. But I'm sure we're gonna get an answer. It did give them a reason. It did give them a way to show us the backstory of Rudius.
Which
Yeah.
was good.
Which
I
is
liked
pretty
how
good.
they did it. I liked how we saw all the characters kind of on their quest. It was a little recappy. It was a little bit of a nothing episode, but the whole like taking the step, crossing the threshold that they couldn't do before was nice. It was not too overly dramatic. It was fine. I didn't mind the last couple episodes of the show.
I do think Rudius had like borderline just garbage parents. Like they didn't do him any favors. You know.
I mean, they
I don't know.
kind
They
of
seem
tried.
pretty supportive
They
of
were
him.
Super supportive. His friends were supportive. He just didn't have the strength to accept them.
Yeah, actually, that's the problem. So the reason, so I don't know. We've talked about hikikomori before, and it's a sensitive issue, but like it's a pretty known, documented fact. If you can read about it, is that one of the reasons why there are so many people that have this issue is because the parents allow them to have that problem. They feed, support, let them just do that. And Rudius's parents are just plenty happy to just let him sit in his room for his whole life when they really ought to be trying to facilitate a move to get him out of his fucking room, which, I don't want to get too far into it because all I'm going to get is people yelling at me. But, it's a lot easier to sit in your bedroom for your whole life if your parents are paying all your bills and feeding you and supporting you and doing that. And if you read about it in Japan, they blame the parents for that. So we're off topic, but the parents ought to, are you're culpable as a parent when you let your kid sit in your room, sit in your room for 30 years. I mean, come on. But yeah, I don't know. Which is why I think
I can agree on that. But like at
crazy.
least in the beginning, I can see them wanting to give him his space.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to give it,
Yeah.
you want to give a guy his space for a little bit because he just went through a traumatic incident. That's fine, but 18 years
30
later,
years,
it might be time to be a parent. You know what I mean? Anyway, but which is one reason why I think that it's weird that Rudius is so smart and so headstrong and so just godlike everything, when in reality he's obviously not mentally strong or he wouldn't be living in his bedroom, and as they said in the first season, masturbating to pictures of his cousin or whatever. I can't remember what it was. You would know, Caroline. You just watched it, but
I mean, I can't exactly remember what he was
nothing
masturbating
good.
to. I just know that he was.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm ready to score it. We're out of time.
Yeah. Yes.
I think this season is really good. This is a good show. This is going to be a fucking long show. We're not going to cover it again, but prepare for season 5 of Jobless Reincarnation 3 years from now, because this story is nowhere near complete. It's not even close. I feel like we went backwards as far as completion of the story like this with this season. So I 100% could see us watching Jobless Reincarnation in 2027. But we just won't be doing it for the podcast. So I still think this show is really strong. I really have nothing bad to say about it other than a couple dumb characters, like that Prince character was really awful. It's anime. It's going to be perverted. It's going to have ecchi in it. It's had ecchi since the dawn of anime. I've been watching ecchi since the rock monster from Ninja Scroll had his way with the ninja girl in 1988 or whatever the fuck that was. So I'm going to give this show, I thought it was better than season 1. It's going to get, this is a fucking good show. I'm sad it was so short. I'm going to give it 4.5 times that Rudius punched Paul in the face out of 5.
Yeah.
That was nice. Glad you dug it. So you gave season 1 a 3.5. So marked improvement. Caroline, you want to go or you want me to go?
I'll go, I guess. So I'm basically ranking this whole, like, the first and the second season, or parts, or whatever you want to call it, as a whole, because I can't really distinguish the beginning and end, and because I binge watched it. But I will say that it is enjoyable. I probably will be interested in watching what comes next, because, you know, it is pretty fun when they aren't you know, talking about tying down their own daughters and making them your sex slave, which happens in part 1, and was the father of Eris, if you guys don't remember that. So, anyway.
Classic comedy.
Taking that into account, because obviously I have to, because it is a very prevalent part of the show, is the different ways they can make you uncomfortable. And the fact that it is good. I will give it 3.5, I don't know, Rudies with underpants on their faces out of 5.
So stupid. I
Gotta
knew
get that Shimoneta.
I knew I would have bet my right arm as a right-handed person that he was going to put those fucking panties on his face. Unreal.
The moment he saw them. Yep.
It's so stupid. You know what? I'm lowering my score. I'm giving it a 4.
Just because of the panties.
Yeah, it's just so fucking stupid. But yeah. Actually, I'm giving it a 4 because Eris cut her hair and walked out, because that was absolutely a low fucking moment for her. I think she destroyed herself as a character for a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are like, well, now you're not cute and you're a bitch. That's what they're saying. So I'm giving it a 4.
Team Roxy is getting more.
Team Roxy strong.
There you go. Just wait for 4 seasons until the Sylphie rotation comes back. Yeah, season 2, it's a lot like season 1. I still like how they use like the OP/credits to like set the tone of a place instead of a traditional opening. I'm a sucker for when shows do that. Honestly, this show was just, it was like season 1, and better and worse in a lot of ways. Like, it was less perverse, I thought, but it was also like less magical in a lot of ways. Like, the joy of exploration and learning wasn't really there. I thought there was some really great character moments, like the scene reunion between Paul and Rudy was exceptional. And there's also a lot of worse character moments of just Roxy side tangents or weird princes. Like, it just hit the mark and missed the mark at like the same degree. Like, it felt more focused and less focused. It was more serious and less serious. Like, at the end, it just felt like Cour 1. And it's still a good show if you can get over the initial lurch of just perverted pedophilia, but not to say like, oh, you can just put that to the side and it's a great show, but it is solid and it's enjoyable, and I'm going to give it 3.5 cryptic curses out of 5. I'll keep on watching. I still enjoy it. I just don't love it.
Yep.
And that's
it. That sounds like
that's
it's
all
it.
she wrote.
But the people, they love it. They love the show, or they hate the show. It's a very divisive show, and it's something. It's an experience, and that's what we're here to do.
Yep, and that concludes a very long episode of the AA podcast. So let's close it out with mentions of our Twitter. So you can follow the podcast as a whole at AAA Podcast. Then you can also follow Mason at Macy Pacey. Mitsugi has sworn off Twitter, so that's okay.
I'm not on social media at all anymore, and I've never been happier.
Just come to Discord, baby. That's where all the cool cats are at.
Yeah.
Come to Discord.
Yes. All social media except for Discord, which I guess does not count. But we are on Discord, and you can join it very easily by going to our website, or aapodcast.com. Just click on Join Discord, and you get to enjoy a whole bunch of stuff, like Anime Club, and we are watching Blue Spring Ride this week, and we shall see what we will be watching next as well. We're also on Facebook. We're also on TikTok. We're also on, as I mentioned, Twitter. So that's it. But join us everywhere, and then we can have some fun.
What's
wherever
next
you're at.
week? What are we doing next week, Caroline?
Oh my God! Is it ready? Is it here already?
Bum, 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 bum. Wrong song.
We're not doing the Olympics. We're doing our anime Oscars, everyone. So dust it off your top hats and your tuxedos and your gowns because
can
it's
keep your
time for
hat
the
on.
Anime Oscars. And we'll be doing that next week, so get excited. And that's basically it. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.
I'd be interested
Bye.
to hear any predictions on the winner. So we'll see. You might be surprised. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.